So I've been covering a lot of Back to the Future and how it's coded to Super Bowl 50 and also 2015. And then Back to the Future 3 is really coded to the Super Bowl and whatnot, dealing with the number 131. Super Bowl equals 131. Back to the Future, the train that they use when they go back to 1885, the train that they push the DeLorean with, is train 131. Doc Brown goes back to January 1st, 1885, 131 years ago. Um, but anyway, I talked about the Great Scott. I think going into 2015 on New Year's Eve, I looked it up because of the song, whatever it is, the New Year's Eve song, however you say it, Auld Lang Syne or whatever. Probably murdering it, but I just looked it up because I wondered who sung it, what it was about or whatever. It is this guy, Robert Burns. And in Back to the Future, they have, Doc Brown says, Great Scott all the time. And this guy just so happens to be voted as the greatest Scot of all time. He even beat out William Wallace, the Braveheart guy. 2009, STV ran a television series, whatever, and they voted him the greatest Scot of all time. And then he beat out, it doesn't show it on there, but he beat out William Wallace. Interesting though, Great Scott in Gematria equals 38. Just like the Super Bowl is on the 38th day. Once again, Colorado, the 38th state, Colorado equals 38, Panthers equals 38. Much more to that. Robert Burns even died at age 37, just like Carolina equals 37. Also, just after I had made a video on that and looked it up, Stuart Scott died, right? The ESPN announcer or analyst guy, Stuart Scott. Interesting, Stuart Scott equals 176, just like Back to the Future. He's also even in like the movie Herbie Fully Loaded with Lindsay Lohan, and she's wearing the shirt with the blood moon and the Golden Gate Bridge on it. It even has Michael Keaton, the original Batman. I mean, everything I've been mentioning over and over and over. The Super Bowl's in San Francisco, where the original movie even took place. Herbie, the Love Bug. He's also in Love Don't Cost a Thing. And Love Don't Cost a Thing is interesting because it's the all-black version of the movie Can't Buy Me Love with Dr. McDreamy, or his real name's Patrick Dempsey. And, it's all about this division, the white versus the black, the white Bronco versus the Black Panther. And there's a lot of Gray references dealing with Freddie Gray as well. I'll explain that again in a second. But the girl in this movie, Amanda Peterson, just died this year as well. She died at the age of 43. 43, Civil War equals 43. Even born in 71, Super Bowl 50 equals 71. And there's some other stuff in this movie about that deals regards to her and the Civil War theme and whatever. But this movie, the girl that he's in love with, her name is literally Paris Morgan. And in the beginning, she's dating an NBA star. His last name's Hilton. If they would have got married, it would have been Paris Hilton. We talked a lot about Paris Hilton, the Hotels.com commercial, in regards to the Paris, France, the blackouts and whatever on the deal. Also, Steve Harvey's his dad in this movie. Steve Harvey and the Miss Universe pageant stuff. Lots of other stuff with this. Just wanted to point out that it's the black version versus the white version. And, we had Patrick Dempsey, who was on Grey's Anatomy, and they killed him off last year in 2015. And then Amanda Peterson dies later on in the year. You also had 50 Shades of Grey that came out in Black History Month, the movie. The Civil War, the Confederates wore different shades of gray on their uniform because they couldn't afford the dye to make their uniform a different color, so they were 50 Shades of Grey. You had the Gray's Sports Almanac in Back to the Future. That's what he steals or buys or whatever from 2015, and Biff steals it and whatever. Also, you had Freddie Gray, who died on April 19th, the same day that the first death of the Civil War happened in Baltimore. Freddie Gray even died in Baltimore. He was arrested on April 12th, the same day that the Civil War began. That even tied into the movie Drop Dead Fred and Freddy's Dead from Freddy Krueger, the first person to ever die in a Freddy Krueger movie. Her last name was even Gray and whatnot. lots of gray theming. And I think they're going to bring back the Freddie Gray case, and it's going to cause some type of big action, whenever they finally get to the whole complete sentencing and all that. So anyway, sorry, back to this here. So Stuart Scott, also born in Chicago, that we've talked a lot about, coded to the Super Bowl, the 85 Bears. He went to the University of North Carolina. The Panthers play in North Carolina. Michael Jordan, tons of stuff in regards to Space Jam as well. They've really just super coded the Super Bowl. The Space Jam stuff kind of ties more into the NBA though, and I've made tons of videos on that. But anyway, the moral of the story is there was a VH1 series also in 2009, so Obama's first year as president, and it was called Black to the Future, and Stuart Scott was also on that. I can't find a clip of this anywhere. I just don't know where to find it. I looked, I can't find it on my DVR or my dish, and I also can't find it online, so it would be kind of nice just to see it, see what all it's about or whatever. But when I thought of Black to the Future, when I was searching for it, I found a Family Guy episode called Black to the Future, or it's called If I'm Dying, I'm Lying, but they do a little skit called Black to the Future in this. And it's Season 2, Episode 9, or also the 16th episode. And interesting, it came out on April 4th of 2000, 4-4, a day we've talked a lot about with political assassinations. Martin Luther King Jr. died on that day. The first president to ever die in office died on that day. Obama's the 44th president. Also, the storyline in this whole episode is a big Moses type theme. And, April 4th, once again, so April 4th, 4-4 equals 144. If you write out 44, it equals 144. There's a big Moses theme to the Super Bowl 50 as well. Even the 12 tribes of Israel times 12,000 is 144,000. The New Jerusalem, the size of it is 144 cubits. Moses equals 71. The Ten Commandments equals 71. Super Bowl 50 equals 71. Golden Super Bowl equals 71. I don't know why I wrote 50. That's a typo, but Golden Super Bowl, we had the, Moses, the golden calf. It's played in Levi's Stadium. Moses was in the tribe of Levi. If you write out the word 71, it also adds up to 144. Anyway, this whole episode starts off with Peter and Chris. They make up a story about Chris being sick in order to get their favorite show, Gumble to Gumble Beats Justice, put back on the air. And then the news media comes because they want to hear more about the story. They want to hear Chris dying to make a story out of it. And then Peter comes out and says that everyone can go home because he's a healer and he cured Chris. And then all these people start showing up and worshiping Peter as a god or as Moses or whatever because they think that he actually could really cure his son. And then it turns into a whole big Moses theme and whatnot. And I'll talk about that in a second. But what Chris fakes having is tumor, whatever that is. It equals 107, just like the word earthquake. If you write out 107, it equals 131, just like Super Bowl. Also, their favorite show, Gumble to Gumble, it stars Bryant Gumbel and Greg Gumbel, which sticks out because they're both black NFL hosts / announcers. Greg Gumbel even hosted Super Bowl 32. That was the Broncos' 38th season of existence when they won their first Super Bowl with John Elway, or first Super Bowl altogether, but John Elway was the one who won it. The same guy also called the play-by-play in Super Bowl 38, the one where the Panthers lost to the Patriots. Panthers equals 38. The Super Bowl was on the 32nd day of the year. Patriots won with a score of 32-29. And it was a super rigged Super Bowl, just like the rest of them. The Panthers kicker kicked it out of bounds on the kickoff when the score was 29-29. The game should have went to overtime, but since he kicked it out of bounds, the Patriots got better field position and ended up scoring and winning the game and whatnot. Also, in regards to 32, Brady even set a Super Bowl record for the most pass completions with 32 in this game. And they also set a Super Bowl record of a combined 37 points in the fourth quarter. In this game, Patriots equals 37, Carolina equals 37. I haven't looked into all the Super Bowls, but every time I look into one, it's like you just find out how ridiculous it is, you know? Anyway, I couldn't get the captions to turn on, so you can't really see what they're saying. And this right here doesn't have to mean much, but the first try to get the show back on the air, Peter goes in and he says he's going to go on a hunger strike, which just sticks out to me because of the Missouri Tiger hunger strike this year that was in Columbia, Missouri. Lots of Columbia. I don't know what it is. You know, even the Miss Universe Columbia won, and then they gave it to Miss Philippines instead. CNN even had an article about how people aren't spelling Columbia, the country, right. They're spelling it with a U, and it's supposed to be an O, Columbia or whatever. Then on the TV, they even have the terminally ill boy who gets to go play with the Patriots. And on here, you know, it's the Steelers versus the Patriots, but it's just interesting that it goes along with the whole football type theme, and then they're doing a Moses theme as well. And then Super Bowl 50 is all about Moses. But Peter finds out that he'll be sued if he's lying about Chris and whatnot. So he tells everybody that he has divine powers and that he healed Chris. And then a little bit later on, you know, people started showing up at the house, and Lois tells him he shouldn't do that. And then Peter tells the story about how it's not as bad as his cousin or something like that made this TV show Black to the Future. So just interesting, they had a Black to the Future. All of this black versus white, Back to the Future super coded to this year and Super Bowl 50. And then we got Black to the Future on this episode. Then Lois tells Peter that God will be mad if he continues to let people worship him like he is. They even mention the 10 Commandments, and Peter says God won't care, and then the power goes out. And so here's a little scene. They're sitting here, and then the power goes out, and it's only at their house. So once again, a blackout. A blackout with the Moses theme, with the football theme. I mean, it's craziness. But so the next day then, they look outside and there's people building a golden statue of Peter. You know, and it's in reference to the golden calf in Exodus. Then Brian gets fleas, and Chris gets like pimples all over his face, and Stewie's taking a bath and the water turns to blood. Then there's all these frogs and whatnot. And, you know, you find out the family's plagued by darkness, water, and the blood, boils, fleas, you know, frogs. It's similar to the 10 plagues in Egypt. And Brian even mentions that in here. So, you know, it's all about the Exodus type theme or whatever. You know, in regards to the Civil War type theme too, you know, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, Moses freed the slaves. But then the final plague comes and the golden Peter statue falls on Chris. You know, it's going to kill the firstborn son. But then God thinks that Peter finally understands, so he lets Chris live. So I guess the whole purpose of this video is just to show that this episode, for whatever the reason, I stumbled upon it, and it's literally about everything that I've been talking about with Super Bowl 50. It just fits the Moses theme that's all about Super Bowl 50, the Back to the Future. It's even about football, you know. It's crazy. And it's even came out on 4/4, which is super interesting. A lot of this, I think, is coded to the assassination of Obama. You know, and if nothing does happen at the Super Bowl, you know, the Super Bowl is going to be coded to a lot of these events. The Super Bowl is definitely going to be coded to other things if nothing does come of this, or what, you know. I'm just showing the coding. It is absolutely crazy. I think maybe if nothing does happen at the Super Bowl, maybe we might start seeing, you know, the death of some firstborn sons of famous people or something like that in the media. But who knows? You know, just because they got to keep following up with this theme. But there's a lot of stuff foreshadowing a disaster or something along the lines of that for Super Bowl 50. You know, so it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's all just foreshadowing more coding, you know, just like in National Treasure, how they just keep building the piece of the puzzle until they finally get it done or whatever. And even maybe by making these videos, we're changing the plan, you know, so who knows? Have a great night.